Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Keyes, and this is a short video about instructor presence and student engagement and satisfaction. Online education is becoming increasingly prevalent in the higher education world, and as current or future educators, we need to be effective in this environment. Part of this means we need to be innovative in establishing and increasing student engagement. So, what is student engagement? Well, Trowler 2010 said student engagement is concerned with the interaction between the time, effort, and other relevant resources invested by both students and their institutions, intended to optimize the student experience and enhance the learning outcomes and development of students and the performance and reputation of the institution. Which is a mouthful way of saying that student engagement is the time spent by students, the effort spent by students, and the interaction spent by students invested in the coursework, which leads to their engagement, which leads to increased satisfaction, which leads to deeper and more meaningful learning. So with that, here are 3 innovations or tips that you can use as an instructor to establish presence and increase engagement, satisfaction, and learning.
The first tip is to know thy student. Lady Shusky from 2013 listed some of the expectations that students have in an online environment. Students expect constant and immediate and positive and constructive feedback. They also expect involvement from the instructor, as well as clear expectations throughout the course, and for the instructor to establish and maintain an online presence. Some of the do's and don'ts that come out of these expectations include: do find out what your students need as part of the online course and employ different engagement strategies for different needs. Also, do recognize that participation looks different for different students with different needs. Don't assume that all students want to be engaged at a high level. Some students will view this as intrusive or as hand-holding. And also don't assume that all students will be immediately and totally comfortable with an online environment. In fact, you can use a validated instrument provided by Hung et al. For assessing learners across 5 dimensions of online learning, including self-directed learning, motivation, computer and internet self-efficacy, communication self-efficacy, and learner control. Or, for a more simple, innovative tip, you can try having your students send you an email before the course starts about what they're most looking forward to and what they're most worried about to be successful in the course.
Thanks, Duty. The next tip is to model the level of engagement that you want to see yourself. So, what this means is that you need to establish a presence online, which you can actually do through a series of small acts as suggested by Joyner from 2014. For example, the organization of your course homepage speaks to how intentional and thoughtful you've been about students' ability to navigate the page. Asking coherent questions and providing coherent answers on the discussion boards, as well as summarizing the discussions, confirming understanding, and injecting other knowledge, shows that you're still present and involved as well. An advice guide from the Chronicle of Higher Ed suggests going to class. So let's say you have 10 hours a week where you're expected to teach. You schedule out a few hours each day to be present in the course. Maybe you provide office hours during that time, or maybe you post announcements and read the discussion boards. So do be present, warm, engaged, empathetic, and compassionate, and don't expect to set it like a crackpot and leave it. One of the small innovations that you can use is an app called Calendly. Calendly is a way that you can allow students to schedule appointments for you with your calendar integrated. A link is provided right here. Tip is to shift your perspective. As face-to-face instructors, we may be used to this. This is one of those clickers that you use to move through PowerPoint. We're used to being the performer and the content delivery system. But we have to shift to more of a role of Tenzing Norgay in Edmund Hillary's Ascent of Mount Everest. This is one of my favorite kids' books, by the way. So, to climb Mount Everest, you need a lot of help from Sherpas. And our students are certainly trying to do the equivalent of climbing Mount Everest. They're busy professionals who have family and other obligations outside of school and their jobs. And on top of all that, they're trying to get their degrees. So, we need to be their guides and their facilitators in climbing the mountain. We're experienced learners and mentors. We ask questions that lead to critical thinking and deeper learning, and we can arrange courses in a manner conducive to engagement. This is something that Cherkowski and Lehman said we could do. Cabrici, Lipschutz, and Santige from 2017 said that this is really moving from being a performer, as I mentioned earlier, to being a guide. And they quoted Miller from 2014 in listing peer-to-peer interaction, active student engagement and learning, an emphasis on practice and student effort, personalization, variety, and an emphasis on higher thought processes as part of this facilitation. So we do want to provide specific, timely, positive feedback, and we don't want to remain silent just because we're not delivering a lecture. Our role as facilitator manifests most prominently in our feedback to students, which, as you may recall, is one of their expectations. Rossi from 2018 said that feedback should be well-timed, specific, and detailed because this empowers successful learning. One of the innovations that we might use in an online environment to deliver this type of feedback is audio feedback. This allows us to be timely, precise, and positive. And this type of feedback is efficient and supported by pedagogy. We can use apps like Tapes for Mac or Vocaroo in order to provide audio feedback. So last but not least, let's just go over our takeaways. The most important takeaway is that you need to be present in your online courses if you expect students to also be engaged. They expect you to be engaged and present, and your use of innovative technologies and learning strategies to do so is part of the puzzle of successful learning. Have a great week. Bye-bye.